Good morning. Welcome everyone to a rare Tuesday edition of Daryl and Boo Show on October 6th. How's it going, Boo?
Good, thanks. How you doing?
I'm good. I know you were did a long weekend up in Whistler, I think, with the RV, if I'm not mistaken.
No, we actually just went up for the day yesterday. So we got up early and we packed up the bikes. And I actually thought about bringing the trailer, and I also thought about checking out a hotel actually. So I looked up the hotels, and you could stay at the Delta for like $127 right now. So
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this is actually a pretty smoking deal. But we ended up just packing the bikes in the morning and then heading up in the morning. But we had a full day of mountain biking. Kids were super happy about that. That's the culmination of like the last few weeks I've been talking about mountain biking every weekend. So it's kind of like the culmination of all of this getting out every weekend and them getting to experience Whistler, which was pretty cool. They were excited to not have to climb a hill every time they wanted to take a run. Instead, we can just hop on a lift, and we're at the top, and nice long runs coming down. So it was good.
Oh, okay. So you weren't just doing cross country, you actually did some downhilling.
Yeah. Which is funny because you go there and you really start to appreciate the bikes that you see out there when you show up with cross country bikes. So the boys have cross country bike. Mine's more of a trail bike. But even then, like the bikes that are up there, could count on my hand how many hardtails that we actually saw. Most of the bikes were either full downhill or just, really nice trail bikes, single track bikes. So, but nonetheless, we were just on green runs. So there was nothing too crazy that we can do with our bikes anyways.
Yeah. Such a great place. I mean, whether it's skiing or snowboarding or biking, you've just got so many options for trails and beginners and hardcore. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. What'd you get up to this weekend?
It was a relatively uneventful weekend. Just got some stuff done around the house. The pressure washed kind of the front of the house. As you know, in Vancouver, we've got a lot of white in our house, which turns green over time. So just got that done before the inevitable rainfall coming, and visited some friends on Saturday night that I hadn't caught up with in a while. They actually just purchased a new RV. They had a massive one before, but they've gone even more massive. This is like a Yaletown condo on wheels. This thing was interesting, but they make good use of it. They travel all over the West Coast. So it was good to catch up with them. Yep.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So I think we've got Ryan joining us this morning.
I'm bring on Ryan here.
Nice.
All right.
Hey guys, morning.
Hey Ryan, how you doing?
You didn't mention golfing in Whistler. Boo.
Yeah, I'm not a golfer, and I've made several attempts in earnest at golfing, and I even own a pair of golf shoes. That's how far I've gotten into golfing so far, and I've just never gotten into it. I think it's one of those things where maybe I just wasn't good right away, and so I just quit.
Yeah, I was much like my guitar experience that we had.
Oh. I was up in Whistler this weekend too, golfing, so I got a chance to play the Whistler Municipal Course, and had a nice, really good time. It was fun actually with the guys. And we had a coyote following us for the better part of 4 or 5 holes. So then the conservation officer showed up, and this guy was awesome. He was in and out of golf carts and just kind of cruising around, and I thought it was awesome. But I guess they don't want him on the course, so they sent the conservation after him.
I've seen coyotes on the golf course before, even down here in the Lower Mainland, but I've never had them follow. I thought they're usually just kind of pretty skittish. And
yeah, he was in there. Right, there were a whole bunch of. It was pretty busy because the weather was so nice, and there was 4 or 5 groups that he was just kind of. I think he was darting in and out of golf course carts and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, it was your typical Whistler, right? And it was a beautiful day. There was a bear on the back 9 and coyote on the front 9, and it was pretty awesome. So can't complain.
Yeah, and you've done a couple of Whistler golf trips this summer, I think.
Yeah, golf is becoming the thing for me. I'm trying to get the number down, which is the goal, I guess. But yeah, I did we did 36 about a month ago up at Nicholas North, and then 2 trips up to play Whistler, and then we had a boys' weekend in a place called Tobiano and Kamloops.
That's right. Yeah.
3 rounds, right? So that was both really, really fun and really, really terrible.
Yeah.
It's a hard course. So
yeah, that's I've never played it, but I've been there, and it's pretty much target golf, right?
Oh,
yeah.
If there's something good coming out of COVID, it means it's local time on the local golf courses has been great, so I can't complain.
Nice. Yeah. So we had you on the show. I'm trying to remember, Ryan, like quite early on in our kind of beginning of our episodes. It sort of introduced you back then as our new specialist for Shape. So I guess fast forward now, probably 4 or 5 months. I know the discussions that we're having with customers around Shape have really started to increase in numbers, and really starting to get kind of a better handle on what the solution can do, which is pretty exciting. But maybe for listeners, maybe just give us a quick update on kind of what Shape is and what you do here as part of the team.
Sure. I mean, it's been quite the ride since we joined you guys in January. I think that there was that typical period of like, okay, you guys are trying to figure out what we're doing, and we're figuring out how to be a part of a larger organization. But I think certainly it feels like in the last couple of months, we've really figured out how to work together, but also where the connection points are between the F5 technologies and the Shape technology. I think the biggest thing since the last time we spoke was it's probably been a few of the really important integrations, Shape Silverline being one. We've integrated those 2 business units now, so Shape is running the Silverline team, and with all of our experience in managed services, bringing those 2 groups together, I think will be really neat. There's a lot of cool roadmap coming up. Certainly, the other thing I think that we've done this year that has been really remarkable for our business is the launch and development of the Shape anti-fraud engine called SAFE. That one is really cool. And we've got it out in the marketplace now to a handful of larger clients, and the returns on it are fantastic. It's neat. So what we're doing is gathering telemetry and data around login success and failure, and then applying that to an enhanced set of analytics around user behavior to identify fraud. And typically in the market, you'll see a couple of things. You'll see 2 or 3 different types of tools that will look at very specific activities by an actor. We're able to gather so much data. We're able to combine a number of different behaviors and throw a flag or notify a customer on suspicious activity even before the fraud has happened, just because of the profile of the user and how they get in. So it's been a really big win for Shape, and certainly as we learn how to plug that into the other tools that we have with F5, I think that's going to be it has the potential of being our biggest product. So that's been super cool.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Just again, based on what I've seen, there's a lot of solutions out there that claim to kind of do what Shape does, and then when you realize they're really kind of only scratching the surface, and then Shape kind of takes over from there. So
and certainly since the last time we talked, Daryl, it's been, COVID wasn't a thing when we spoke the first time. So I think the increase of everything that you see in terms of online commerce and just everything going online, and the needs for our Shape Enterprise Defense, our base product, has gone through the roof, where we're seeing people realizing how valuable the login experience has to be. But then now making sure that you understand what happens after login, and just because somebody's logged in doesn't necessarily mean they should be there. So, we have our third product called Shape Recognize, which continues to work its way along. It's not a big marquee product necessarily, but really drives high value. I'm having a conversation actually today with one of our larger customers in the country about Recognize, and what it's doing is basically looking at users who have an unsuccessful login experience and saying what happened there, why did they not log in, Why couldn't they log in? And then what's the impact of that? In the case of this customer, they have really high help desk costs. So every time somebody fails to log in, they pick up the phone, call the help desk, and there's a charge for that. And in this case, it's in the hundreds of thousands of dollars per month. And so we're looking at it now and saying, these folks that are having trouble logging in, maybe we can rescue or recognize the ones and extend a session for good users. And we're looking at sort of a 40 to 50% decrease in the help desk costs, which is significant for these guys. So that's also a FY 2020 product launch for Shape that's getting sort of its version 2 wrapping on it now, and integration with the F5 products as well. So it's been a pretty crazy year. I've been now at Shape for just over a year. And from when I joined, in late September of last year till now, 2 new products, 2 new versions of 2 new products, plus the integration with F5. It's been pretty cool.
Yeah. And now it sounds like further integration with our Silverline platform, which has, again, just continued to mature over the last number of years. We've got a number of customers using Silverline for DDoS mitigation, for managed WAF, and feedback that we just get is continues to be really solid. But now we're integrating Shape as to part of that overall portfolio. So I've got a basic understanding of that, but maybe you can kind of talk a little bit about that, because I know that's going to be a big part of your portfolio this coming year.
Yeah, what's really what's really good about that is that it gives us a very fast option to deploy. So if a client's having any kind of issues in a login, whether it be unknown security issues that you might solve with a WAF like SQL injection or something else, having volume problems of traffic that you would normally solve with a WAF, or looking at automation, now there's a really quick way to kind of deploy, do a cloud deployment and put all of those tools in play at once, and then turn the ones on that you need to, rather than saying, I think the problem is DDoS, so I'll go and buy a DDoS solution. We can look at the entire stack and then turn on the tools that are necessary. And so I think I think the biggest benefit, Daryl, that you would probably see from is customers who are having issues, really rapid deployment option. Just because it's cloud-based, you can turn it on very, very, very quickly, or you can take the time, go through a POC, and where you may not be in a critical state, still be able to look at all of that traffic that's destined for your environment and load balance it and scrub it for volumetric attacks, automated attacks, very focused application security. It's all now packaged together around that Silverline offering that's got the Shape tools added to it. So lots of really good stuff there. That's I think you'll see that. Certainly our goal is to make that a competitive offering in terms of the number of customers that are on that platform. And instead of going to on-premise deployments now, I think, again, with COVID, you'll see more use in the cloud. And so that's really its benefit, is it's fully cloud enabled.
Right. That was always a really strong point for Silverline. Like we'd have a customer give us a shout because they were in trouble, and then we were able to get the service spun up within an hour and save them from that. And we just, figure out what things have to look like afterwards.
Right. And it's pretty cool to be able to, as you say, Boo, just be able to, kind of flip the switch really, and then analyze the traffic and say, it's actually not this, it's something else, and have the tools in the toolbox to say, let's turn on a specific feature on the WAF, and let's turn on the bot detection. It's not actually a denial of service issue, it's something else, and make that analysis very, very quickly. And we're just, the state of the world is what it is. We're going to see more attacks, and certainly we're going to see more people trying to take advantage of the commercial space, right? And the enterprises have had a long time to really put together the defenses they need, but as more and more smaller organizations go online, and Daryl, this reminds me of a conversation you and I had with a client here in Vancouver who had a really, really bad experience with somebody testing credit cards against him, and then he got a massive bill from his credit card provider, and he's like, right, this is terrible. And all they were really doing was validating these credit cards were usable, and so they were just using his environment to do a quick credit card test, and he got hundreds of thousands of dollars in a bill from his service provider there. And that was an interesting discussion that we had with those guys, and it was an eye-opener that you can really impact smaller commercial organizations, not just the large enterprise ones, because everybody's got to be ready for online, and certainly with COVID's not done, so we're going to see more of that, I fear.
Yeah, no question. And it's I guess at least from my perspective, very gratifying when you can help your customers in real time. I mean, some of these attacks, quite honestly, our customers here in BC just don't have huge budgets for IT security, and they're under attack. They're just it's a terrible thing to try and go through and manage. So to be able to kind of step in and not only show them where the attacks are coming from and how they're being attacked, but to be able to kind of mitigate that in real time. It's just a very gratifying thing.
It is. And, it's an interesting space to be into. The creativity that we're seeing from the attackers is very interesting. Actually, there's you can sort of laugh a little bit about some of the things that you learn about how people are attacking and what they're doing to break into environments. It's very creative space. And again, with those smaller organizations and commercial type organizations, they really struggle with, getting beyond the standard, having the standard tools, getting to a little bit more of an advanced set of tools where you can see people doing things you would never conceive. That's probably one of the neatest things that we have at Shape, that, as you guys know, we've been starting to talk a lot to the public about this giant analytics platform that we have in the background and how we are able to churn through that and use ML and AI models to get more insights. And we start to learn more about what people are doing, how they're sneaking through and using other technologies to get in. Recently this year, we started looking at, a lot of people use tools, aggregators, to kind of bring all your financial data into one spot, a bit of a portal for yourself, and look at how you pay your bills and all that. That's become a very quick path into organizations who allow aggregators. And these are things like Intuit and Mint and Wealthsimple and those tools. And they're very, very useful, but they're also a channel into an organization. And most companies have said, oh, we know who these guys are, we'll just allow them in. We don't need to scan that traffic. And now folks have found a way to hide in that stream and come right into an organization and extract what they're looking for. And that's really hard for a smaller company. It's hard for the big ones too, to be honest. That's an interesting one that's come up and really been exposed here. Probably early spring is when we started recognizing that that aggregator traffic was an issue, and those platforms are really useful for the consumer. So most companies aren't going to turn them off. So we have to find a way to help them with those kinds of problems.
Yeah, and the ability for the Shape kind of solution to adapt like that, to learn new things, because you're right, it's just an ever evolving thing. What is a path in is today is not necessarily what's going to be used in 6 months from now. So we got to be able to kind of adapt on the fly and evolve as the bad guys are evolving.
What's really cool too is I'm starting to just hear now about some NGINX integrations as well, and I don't know if there's anything that we can talk about I don't have anything formally on the product side, but I do know that we're starting to play around with the combination of NGINX tools and Shape tools and see what opportunities are coming out of there. There's some specific work being done around webmail platforms, that kind of thing. So I think that there's going to be that will be a really interesting piece too, because as you know, NGINX has got such a great install base, and for the really tech-centric folks, I think our data pools and the technical capabilities of NGINX, putting those two pieces together over 2021, I think that's going to be a really interesting. There'll be some interesting products or ideas that we can bring out of that.
Yeah, no question. It's going to be an exciting year. It's the start of, for those who don't know, it's the start of our new fiscal year, which most of our customers doesn't really mean too much, but it is an exciting time because it's usually within the next couple of months when we really get to get a better understanding of what some of the biggest things that are going to be launched this year. From F5, we usually do that at our kickoff in November, which will be virtual this year. But always kind of a fun and exciting time.
Yeah, and that just came out of the calendar too. So that'll be my first F5 kickoff. So I'm really curious to see how that goes, especially because it's virtual.
Yeah.
I'll get more sleep out of this kickoff. Usually there's not a lot of sleep from the kickoffs.
The virtual conference thing is interesting. One of my friends works for a paint supply company, and they did a virtual conference, and he had to sit in a virtual booth for all day. So I mean, for folks who you don't have to envy us but sometimes we'll have to sit in a booth all day, and in between people actually visiting the booth, it's not actually as exciting as it looks.
No.
I can't imagine what it's like when you're sitting in a virtual booth all day waiting for people to come around and talk about.
So I had the experience, Boo, and it's very similar to actually being in the real booth. There's those quiet times where you're like, okay, it's a little quiet here. It doesn't matter where you are. It's getting a little quiet, but it's neat though. I mean, these companies that have figured this out, somebody's really been, or these guys have been really creative to get these conferences online. There was one more focused on financial sector a couple of weeks ago, I guess, and I just popped in to check it out because there hasn't been one in the West that we've been able to attend. And cruising through it from a vendor's perspective, it's very much, you just look at the map and you go to you work your way down the floor and you look at the different products, and instead of talking to somebody live, you're texting with them in a chat box. But it's still pretty neat. I just think it's incredible how quickly those organizations have been able to get those conferences gone from on-premise to in the cloud. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's not the same experience though, no matter what it is. Like, you're so used to being able to walk around and sort of feel the buzz and all the energy, and it's not the same. But
yeah, I think a lot of companies are talking about in the future still just doing a hybrid going forward of virtual and physical. So it'll be interesting to see how they separate the two things. Still have people get the vibe of being in person while they're not there, but there are people there. So what happens? Do you see the other people there and get jealous of them walking around with all their swag or whatever they get from?
And certainly we're going to have our biggest one of the year is the Privacy and Security Conference every year here in BC. So how that comes together now, I know that there's been some emails and stuff going around on that one. So that one's going to be interesting because that's a mainstay for the Canadian or for the BC market anyway.
Yeah.
So
I just noticed an email came out for the one in Victoria for February, which I was quite surprised because I know there's another one scheduled for May here in the Lower Mainland, but the Victoria one, which has been going on for 20 plus years, I was a little bit surprised. February still seems almost a bit aggressive for me, even though we're only in October right now. You kind of wonder if we're going to be ready, but who knows? Hopefully.
They're in Victoria, so maybe they know something that we don't know about regulations on public gatherings.
Yes. Yeah.
I know certainly I've got family on the island that I know that there's been less. They're obviously very separated body of water in there, but they haven't had the issues that the Lower Mainland has. But it creeps in, right? I'd be surprised to see a massive gathering there, but. As you said, Daryl, I think all of us have been attending that one. I know I've been to it probably, 15 times or something like that. So and going along. So it's your way to see the guys too. It's a way to catch up with everybody and, see your friends at other vendors and all of that kind of stuff. So it's a good time.
It really is. Yeah. It's a well-run event. They put a lot of effort into the speakers and, I think Boo and I are eight years in a row, coming up on 9 years if we go this year. And I know your previous life, you were at TELUS in a security role too, so you probably spent some time at TELUS when you were there. Yeah.
It's interesting, actually. I just heard the other day from a friend who's at TELUS that they've basically extended their office closures in other than the roles that have to be in. They're pushing it out now till next year sometime. So they're just sending everybody home and saying it's we'll remote work enable you and get the job done remotely. So which is interesting because they're making a lot of investments. And speaking of Victoria, TELUS is building a new building in Victoria, right behind the Empress. If you know the spot there, there's a lot with I think it was a car lot, and then there's been some bike rentals and stuff on it. So they're building a new building right behind the Empress there. Yeah, I'm off my head here. 2024, I think, is when it's supposed to be done. But and then they've got the new TELUS Sky building in Calgary, which is ready for business. So I think it's a little quiet there. So, but that's I just happened to be talking to a friend at TELUS the other day who said that they're out of the office for the foreseeable future. So.
Wow. That's good. Their office in Victoria, it was a good location, but it was a bit long in the tooth. And
oh yeah, absolutely.
Stepping back in time somewhat. Our good friends over at TELUS over there. But yeah, I'm sure they're going to welcome that.
I just had a chat with a guy who he actually just works in facilities for electronic arts, which is a 3,000 person campus, and they basically have a max of 100 people in.
Oh wow!
Now, which is, I mean, if you talk about space and needing space, that campus is the most space that you can get for people, and they only have 100 people there. But what I found amazing was that they're still on schedule with all their game releases right now. So a couple of games are really mainly developed in Vancouver. However, they have big studios in Redwood City and Florida as well. And everybody, these game developers, they need big computers, so they've brought them all home. And I don't know how they transfer. It'd be an interesting case study to find out how they transfer huge files across for all their game development. But they've still been on schedule. The regular NHL games and stuff like that. They're still coming out on the time. So
and they've been live streaming games and stuff too. I think everybody in Vancouver knows somebody who's at EA, and that's an incredible feat, because they if you've ever seen how they do computing power there, it's a significant setup. So I didn't know that they were all out working remotely.
Yeah.
There was a news story just this past week about Amazon's investment in Vancouver too, and that it's increasing, and they're doing all the work on the post office. And it's hard to think about how much space they're creating out of the old post office building, and how much room they're going to put in there, and the number of employees are talking about getting into Vancouver, and then they're all going to be remote.
Yeah, that building's coming along. You drive by it every once in a while. It's not that far away from being completed. And then you wonder, once that one is done, based on the success, like you look at Seattle and the percentage of the square footage that they own in the downtown core, if this is just kind of our first building we see from Amazon of many.
I would think you're right. And I think we were chatting before about the Netflix maneuver in Vancouver as well, where they're taking on more space, and Lululemon's building a brand new corporate headquarters here as well. So there's a lot of really big commercial investment, like real estate investment, going on in the city. It'd be nice to hopefully, soon we can get everybody back into the buildings and stuff, but because that's, all of that just drives the innovation in the city, which is cool. And I don't know how many of those jobs that Lulu will bring back from the US or just net new growth in Vancouver, but their new building looks spectacular. I saw an article online about it. It looks incredible.
Yeah, I think they've got capacity to grow up to 4,000 people over the next number of years. So pretty exciting.
Oh yeah.
When you think of a decade ago or over a decade, the kind of the exodus of BC companies from over to Alberta for tax reasons and so on, but it's great to see investment coming back into the province. Yeah,
strong tech sector here. I mean, Microsoft's got a big footprint here as well, and they're not going to let Amazon get all the goodness of the BC marketplace either. No, good competition there.
I read something this morning. I always get excited about these, and I'm sure they won't come to fruition. But there's another group putting a proposal together for a high-speed train from the Fraser Valley, from Chilliwack all the way up to Whistler. You could do that trip in an hour, but something like 11 stops on the way, which would be, in my mind, fantastic to see. There was also those talks about that West Coast fast train down to Portland and up to BC, but I think if we start seeing things like that come to reality, that would just change, take Vancouver and BC to a whole new level. Yeah. Well, I think we are just at the bottom of the hour here. So Ryan, always a pleasure speaking to you. I know we'll be speaking to you with a few customers here this morning. So
we have a busy day together. So
that's right. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for your support and Shape, and look forward to more and more. So
you bet.
All right.
Bye,
thanks,
folks.
Yeah.
Thanks for checking this out today. If you're watching via YouTube right now, go ahead and click subscribe down below. Also click the bell for notifications. That way you will find out when we are dropping a new video or when we're going live. Also, there's darylandboo.com. If you head over to that, leave your name and email address, we will drop a weekly technical newsletter in your inbox every Monday. Also, this is available via podcast, Apple, Google, Spotify. Head over to one of those, hit subscribe, and you'll be able to listen listen to us in the car on your commute or during a walk or a run. Thank you very much, and we will see you next time.